Welcome back. This is Lily, tu anfitriona Lily de Lily Sin Barreras. Bienvenidos a un lunes más. Un lunes donde el pelo creo que me lo peiné, pero quién sabe. Los invito a todos que se unan a la conversación because guess what? We have a lot to offer today. So, things that I have done in the past with big groups, in different environments, in trainings, I'm going to give you a little bit of what I use that's in my toolbox so you can advocate for yourself. This is 32 years of experience. You learn some of these things the hard way, some of the stuff you get trained for. But there's a lot of misunderstanding out there about, who qualifies for this, who doesn't qualify for that, and how to put up the good fight and how to be extremely, extremely successful with the strategies that I, through the years, have learned, created, and modified. So while some of you start sharing the video and start joining me, I just want to make a couple of announcements. So that way, we give time for our brothers and sisters to join us. It is always my pleasure to be here with you. And I wanted to start with gratitude. I know a lot of people talk about gratitude as something, super, super positive and in denial of the truth and all of those things. But to me, it's a little bit more than that. To me, it's about being able to live every day counting your blessings and knowing that sometimes they come in sandpaper. So sometimes the blessings that you think you should be getting, sometimes they're not coming in the way that you think they should come. So we become very impatient. So we would wait a little bit, but I have lots of information to share with you. Feel free to call your friend, to forward it to people, because it's all about hardcore advocacy. How do you work on removing barriers? And it's extremely, extremely important that we know the how. But many people are working on the why, right? So there's two whys. There is, ay, Juanita, Dios te bendiga. There's the emotional why, there's the legal why, there's the practical why, there's the service why, who did me wrong, who did me right, all those kind of things. So I'm going to ask everybody to share so people can start joining and we can start this conversation. The reason I decided to do this is because I find myself at least once a day, someone will inbox me and ask me, how do you do this? How do you do that? How do you access that system? How do you choose who do you go with to court or to social services or whatever it may be? And I think the most important thing is to know the strategies of how do you make these decisions and when to say no. And I'm talking about you yourself as well, and when to recognize the evil playing evil. So there's many people who will give you information, and in your heart of hearts or in your gut you already know it's not right. Something's wrong with that information that they gave me. It just doesn't seem right. Hi, Sarita. Just inbox you asking. That's great. That's great. I'll check it out as soon as after the show. So strategies are extremely important. And anybody who's been an advocate for anything, for a garden, a community garden, for your kids to get quality education, for you with your doctor, with neighbors, trying to get them to see your point of view, trying to get to collaborate with people, trying to recognize the difference between, okay, so here is a huge, huge, huge strategy that I use all the time. You don't have to fall in love with everybody you're working with. What you have to have in common is the goal, right? So I may like um, Sarah versus someone else, right? But I may need to work with that someone else. So I'd rather spend time with Sarah or with Margarita or with Wanda. But in this particular project, I need to spend time with that other person that I don't necessarily want to spend uh, my private time with them. But I need them because they're the expert in that area or hold the key to open a door that I need them to open. And this happens a lot. So we get confused between who our collaborators are, who our blockers are. We have blockers out there. Those people drunk with power. No, they're not coming in here. And I already said what I had to say. Anyway, that's how it sounds in my head. So continue to share and share and share. This is stuff I do in trainings. People hire me to do this. And I mean this humbly, and I should not be ashamed of it, but I'm always sharing the best that I have. Right now, a lot of people are calling me and asking about when does the moratorium end? If you go on to judicial housing, which is public information for you, you just type it in, Connecticut Judicial, and then you go into housing, it will tell you that the last day that they have up there is July 1st. So a lot of people are receiving, this is housing, are receiving eviction notices. They're receiving notices to quit as of now, right? So I hope you can all hear me. I'm assuming if you're here and nobody has yelled as of yet, um, you can hear me. So the purpose of my show, lo que a mí más me interesa, is to share that information. I think there are folks who unfortunately feel that there is a level of necessity or power that they gain by holding on to the information. It's public information. And why not help one another navigate the socials and the legal systems? And also, our communities of faith may have a lot of information or may not. And we want to ensure that everybody who travels in our communities has access to that information. So I'm going to start and I'm going to tell you a couple of mistakes that I have learned through the years that people make. And I've learned that the hard way. So traveling in packs. And I tell you this because the first thing that people like to do, I'm a good advocate or I can do anything for myself, but they bring 10, 15 people with them. This is the first conversation that you're going to have with someone. So you pick up the phone. I'm going to get that basic. Okay. So get your pen, your paper, your crayons, whatever you want, your recorder. You can watch this video later on, share it with people. So when you're going to make a phone call, you must know, you got to know, okay? Why are you placing that phone call? So you'll hear this all the time from people. You got to separate your emotions from the actions you're going to take. I disagree. Your emotions sometimes need to be helpful to you. They have to be good partners in your actions. Everything we have across the world is somebody had an emotion about some law. Every law that goes anywhere, people felt that it was unfair, it was unjust, they want to protect their rights. All of that is an emotion, a feeling, right? Now, what do you do with that? Who do you take it to? So it translates into action. So I'm not the person who will say, no, 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 you got to take all the emotions out of it. No, it's just how do you use that emotion towards your benefit, and to the benefit of whatever collaboration you're trying to establish. Oh, Lily, but I don't want to collaborate with anybody. I just want to make this phone call so they can answer my call. Okay. How are we going to make that phone call? Believe it or not, there's many people, and I'm talking about, I've worked with people who have PhDs to people who have PhDs in life. And when I hear them, hi, Jill. When I hear them make a phone call, it terrifies me. Example, here's a bad phone call. Let's start with a bad phone call. Hey, this is Lily. I'm calling you because I know that you have a program and you have not offered it to me or to my clients. That's an accusation, right? So, what about if you turn that around, right? And that may be true. Everything you're saying may be true. May be true, but we're talking about removing the barrier. So don't become part of the barrier. So I always say to people, I carry my gloves. I'm sorry, my hair is bothering my face. I carry my gloves in my bag, but I only take them out when I absolutely need them. I am thinking that whomever I'm going to work with, whoever answers that phone is going to do the right thing. Not naive. I have my gloves in my bag. Okay. The confusion all the time, and I hear this all the time when I do trainings, all the time when people call me, when people hire me to do a consultation, they pay me, okay, I want to spend 45 minutes with you before I make this phone call, before I make this plan. We help people make this, plan it out, plan it out. How many phone calls are you going to make a day? Who are you going to talk to? Who are the right people to talk to? Who's in that area? Who's your state representative? Who is your local politicians? And people go, why do I need to know all of that? Is because their hands are involved in all of that, in all of it. And they may have the will, the desire to help you as well. Okay. So before we start in the attack, let's talk about. So, mistake number one is starting with a fight. So, if your emotions are not allowing you to place that phone call without that maybe well-deserved nastiness that that person on the other line deserves, it's time to slow down or to get someone to help you with that process. Not saying that they don't deserve it. Now, here's what happens many times. The person who has answers a phone many times at that agency is not the person who's making decisions. However, I will tell you this, that if you get that person interested in what you are looking for, they might be your best advocate. Never minimize anybody's position at all. At all. When I go and I grab my seafood, I love the guy that I can find maybe on Wednesdays or Thursdays because he knows exactly what I like. He knows what I don't like. We've had simple conversations. We've been pleasant to each other, but for some reason, I feel like I don't have to work too hard pointing out to the seafood that I need. He knows I definitely want something that's clean, organic, that kind of stuff. I build that relationship. Simple conversation, and it happened. So why am I comparing that? Because it works across the board. I promise you, it works across the board. So recently, we had a gentleman in his mid 70s. Immigration was a concern. Owed an amount that it's incredible that he was not evicted already. And everybody had tried to help some way or another. So what I figured was that everybody was probably helping with 1 month of rent here, 1 month of rent there, but the rent continued, like we all know, to pile up. And it was a big amount. So I found myself in the, okay, let's go directly to the top. And what I mean with this is someone who can make a decision almost immediately. So I wrote, okay, to the commissioner of housing. And in a matter of hours, I had a response from her, a referral, and another team on board. That would not have been my first action had I caught that person, had I've interacted with that person at the beginning of their process. Now, my concern, the urgency was that this person could be out in 6 days. So that brought me to make a different decision. Okay. So that's the urgency. So I went up to the commissioner. A lot of people say, well, I don't know that I can write to the commissioner. Of course you can. They're all public servants. Of course you can. Of course. Well, Lily, I don't feel comfortable with doing that. A lot of people call me up and I can help them with that. Okay. I'm not a nonprofit, so I'm going to charge for that service. Pennies, but I'm still going to charge for that service. So big mistakes we make all the time. So I'll give you a mistake and then how to correct it. And I say mistake because you become your own blocker. You become your own blocker and you don't even realize it, right? So your emotions I don't think you need to remove them. What you feel is what you feel, is what's your goal? What is your goal? So when someone calls me and says, Lily, I hope you're taking notes. Lily, I'm hurting. Lily, I'm desperate. Lily, here, do you hear everything I'm hearing? I'm hearing the emotion of the process. And I allow people the space to do that. I still haven't heard what the barrier is, right? So we have to get to what the barrier or the emergency is. Those are absolutely reactions and emotions to whatever it is that they're going through. But if I stop that in my world, I do not give the person space to just drop it right there, get it off of their chest. And then here's the question: what is your priority? What's happening? Well, I think I'm going to get evicted. Okay. You think. Tell me why you think that. Well, because the landlord doesn't like me. Okay. All right. Did they tell you they're going to evict you? No, but I know it. I know it because that's what this person does all the time. I know it. So this person is taking common practice maybe for someone else. He knows that they probably are not the most liked person. That's a feeling, or is it a fact? That's what I tell people all the time. I tell myself that in the mirror all the time. Is this a feeling or a fact? A feeling or a fact? That is very important. So you have not received a notice to quit. No. A notice to quit is what they serve you prior to an eviction, which allows you to file an appearance and allows you to start working on this issue, right? To not get totally in deep on just housing. So, okay. So no, no, no. But I hear that the neighbors, they've done it to their neighbors and they've done it to that. So that level of anxiety that that person has is because they're watching the practice. They're watching it happen to other people. And the question is it going to happen to me? And the hardest thing is to say to someone, and I say this a lot, it's like, okay, let's break this down. Did they knock on your door? Did someone tell you you were next? No, 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 but that's how they do it. Okay, let me tell you what needs to happen for that to translate into actually action. Because there's no law out there, and you can talk to any lawyer you want, that says that you can't be a pain in the butt. You don't have to like me, I don't have to like you. Okay, there's categories that are covered, right? So you can't harass me, you can't make it inhabitable, you can't, threaten me, you can't do any of those things. But due process, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Right? They're not allowed to cut off your water, your heat, all of those things. However, listen to why this person called me. They are in fear that whatever has happened to their neighbors will happen to them. So here the real concern is, how do I help them protect themselves if that was to happen? Does anybody think, how would I help them? Does anybody know? Well, I'll tell you. So the way that I do that is I map out, if this happens, we're going to do this. If that happens, we're going to do that. If that happens, we're going to do that. And then I put into that, inject the emotions. I ask the person, if they talk to you on the phone, what happens to you? I get too nervous. I get too nervous. I can't talk to them. I get too nervous. I immediately, okay, all right. Why don't you give them my number? Oh, I can do that? Absolutely. And I will work on that with you. I can also conference call with you. And it's okay for you to say, I need someone else to be on this phone call. I need someone else to be on this phone call. That's okay. That's okay. So if anybody finds themselves in a place where people are saying, no, 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 you shouldn't feel that way. You shouldn't feel that way. And that doesn't make you feel better, then you need to talk to someone who actually can help you navigate that emotion. Okay. My landlord told me, and I was speaking about landlord because I hear this a lot, especially with July 31st and now being August. They're going to kick me out. They're going to kick me out. They're going to kick me out. Well, there's a process to do that. There is a process to do that. Okay. The other thing that I hear a lot more often than I wish I did is the domestic violence issues. Who gets to leave? Who can leave? Who cannot leave? Do I report it? Do I not report it? It's not physical. I don't have, right, marks on my face, so on and so forth. But is abuse. They abuse me because they take my paycheck. They're the only ones who are providing financial support in the house, and therefore I can leave. They threaten me with taking away my kids. They slash my tires so I can't go to work, or I'm terrified. So the biggest concern for me is safety, right? But the person may say to me, and you guys jump in here anytime, the person may say to me, I'm not I think I'm safe. I want to stay here. But I want to figure out if I have to leave, where to go. So now we're talking about a plan of action, right? A plan of action if something happens. How to put a bag somewhere, never in your car. I tell people all the time, don't put the bag in the car. Don't you you must think as the perpetrator, not as the victim. So you think, I would never do that. I would never take somebody's bag and documents and, and leave them out in the street in the cold without shoes. You wouldn't, but would the other party? So you have to almost think like they do to protect yourself. That's domestic violence. Now we have something really good in the state of Connecticut, and I'm very grateful for this, is the Connecticut court services. And those are available to everybody. Everybody. So you can walk in there, and this is all family law, um, child support, divorce, alimony, modifications of child support. My fear is that a lot of people don't know that they can modify their child support orders. Okay. So if you were paying $300 a month and you lost your job, okay, hang in with me, because I know some sisters are like, oh yeah, yeah, you're on the other party side. No, I'm going to give you both sides of the story. And you have lost your job, or your hours have been cut, or you just lazy and decided to cut your own hours. If that order doesn't get modified, your situation and your emotions matter nothing to this order if you don't follow with a modification. If you don't call the child support department and say, this is what's happened to me, but your testimony is not going to be good enough, right? You're going to have to provide some documentation that says my hours are different. My ability to work is different. My paycheck is different. Whatever it may be, you need to be prepared to provide that documentation. Your word alone is not enough. And there's a reason for that, right? Then comes the other party. I'm the custodial party, right? So this is all public information, people. You can look it up. It's all public information. Nothing that I'm giving you is legal advice. It's all public information. The problem is none of us have the time to do all of that research. And that's why they come to me, they go to lawyers, they go to any other entities, because you are looking for someone who has more expertise than you do in a certain area. Okay. These centers are so good, so good, so good. They can give you the entire paperwork. They teach you how to fill out the paperwork. They are not allowed to give you legal advice. So sometimes people, excuse me, good tea. People get upset because they're like, well, what they didn't tell me what to do. They don't have the ability, they don't have the authority to give you legal advice. They get upset with clerks also at courts. Why did they're giving you the paperwork, the protocol, and what needs to happen. Look up your case. But they also don't give you legal advice. Very important to know. Very important to know. So this is why I say that when we make phone calls, we are under the assumption that the person who answers the phone has all of the power, all of the authority, all of what you would think you need right there and then, and why they're not giving it to you. They don't have it. They don't have it. Now, I'm not denying that some people are just absolutely nasty, and they should not be working where they're working. But there's some wonderful people out there. Some wonderful people out there. Here's one thing that I hear more often than I can admit. Lily, I call and they won't return my phone call. Who did you call? You know that agency that helps people. God, it's the flyers all over the place. Rule number one, where did you call? Write it down. Where did you call? Who did you speak to? Okay. Who did you speak to? And I get as detailed as what time did I call? Because if people have different shifts, then whomever is trying to help you going forward, and you make that second phone call or that third phone call, or it ends up in my box to do, then we can almost determine who was working that day and the hours if the agency is pretty organized. To say that, it is very important that you document. Okay. Oh, no, come on, Lily. All I need is the name of the agency that you called, the person. Well, people don't like to give their names. Ask for a supervisor. Say, I'm sorry you feel uncomfortable with giving your name, but because you work at this agency, I need to know who I'm talking to. Okay. Who am I talking to? Many companies have an employee number. So if you call to Social Security, in other places, or even Eversource or other, they will give you a disclosure. Some credit companies will do the same thing. They will give you this full disclosure that you go, oh my God, please. And they give you an employee ID number. I don't know how many people write that down. Write it down. Have them repeat it if you have to, because that's going to be part of what you need later on. Okay. So we moved on to what you've called. You have not been successful, but what? You have the name, the agency, and the hour. So now when you call back, you have the name of the person and the hour that you called. And you can say, I spoke to Lily. It was about 3:30 in the afternoon, and here is what she told me. So I'm following up on that. It's hard to debate that. It's really hard to debate that. I've had people hang up the phone on me, so don't feel bad if they're hanging up the phone on you. So I'm going to ask you to continue to share so we can bring other people into our conversation here on Lily Sin Barreras. It is important that you understand what every agency does, right? You can't become an expert at everything. So that's why you have to have people you can call. So you may be calling Jill, you may be calling Sarah, you may be calling Wanda, you may be calling Margarita, you may be calling Joseph, you may be calling Carlos, you may be calling your state representative, you may be calling our girl and councilwoman warrior Wildalis Bermudez. You may be doing all of that because they know somebody. Somebody knows somebody. So here's the one that people almost want to slap me when I say this, 211. Okay. They are a referral service. Yes, you wait there very long. Every once in a while, I get lucky. Um, and you are not always able to trust you'll get a phone call back. That's very scary. That's very scary. Right now, there is two programs, and I just want to bring this up for you guys. I know rent has been a huge problem for many of us. And I say us because we do have family members and we have loved ones, and all of that impacts you. So if you happen to have an issue where you can't pay your rent due to COVID, you lost hours, whatever it may be, you weren't working, whatever it may be, There are programs out there still with money. Lily, I don't have my documents to be here in this country legally. There's also a program for you. Okay. So it's just a matter of finding someone that can get you closer to your answer. And it takes work. I've had to learn the hard way that if I'm working harder than who I'm trying to help, then it is time for me to back up, to back up and say, when you're ready to take this on, okay, and we become a team and collaborate and follow through, then we can do that together. Now, I do have people who are not able to do that. People who have a brain injury like I do, people who have cognitive impairment, people who their anxiety is so severe that making that phone call is debilitating. Those are the people that we definitely want to make those phone calls for and get all the data and all of the information so that way they can receive the same services. Big mistakes we make when we do advocacy is always think about this person can be your future collaborator. Oh, Lily, I don't work in an agency. What do you guys think of that? I won't need that person in the future. Your cousin might, your sister might, you might end up working there. You might be able to mobilize community. You might be able to post it on your Facebook. You might be able to help others. And that's really powerful. Here's the other thing, our expectations of entities. Do you really know what that agency does? Give you an example. Many times, and this is all what you get in my trainings. This is like I'm giving you a tiny bit. So you're happy to sign up for those trainings so you can go through the whole thing with me, and we do the whole scenarios and all of that kind of stuff. And you pick what you really want to talk about, and we do several trainings of this. What is that entity assigned to do? What is their mission? What is their goal? So here's what I hear all the time. I spoke to the mayor of Hartford. I spoke to the mayor of New Britain. I spoke to the mayor of Bridgeport. I spoke to the mayor. Did you speak to them or did you leave a message? Oh, um, I called their office. Very different to speaking to the mayor. But do we really know how much power the mayor has? And the mayor then might refer you to their community services, may refer you to the assigned group that actually does that. But don't forget, if that doesn't work, you come right back to the mayor's office. And you have every right, if you live in that town, in that city, whatever it is, to go back to the mayor's office. These are public officials, okay? Public officials. Not every city or town or region has the same financial abilities, therefore their programs look different. Okay. So why does this place have it or that place have it? That's a whole different training. That's a whole different training. So as we get closer to understanding the importance of us understanding what services are available to you, what services are wishful thinking on our part, what services are blowing your mind because you're going like this particular person that I'm telling you there, I was like, I'm crossing my fingers, praying that I get mercy. And then there was this program out there that can pay up to $15,000. And this person had over $11,000. How they have not been evicted, it was beyond me. Beyond me. But even the agency, the realty company that runs this complex was willing to work with us, which was very interesting. So for me, those were little miracles that I go, whew, because my gloves were in my bag, but I didn't even need to do that. So it's truly important that we do think about what I clearly want. What is it that I clearly want? And sometimes that's not clear to you. So you need to troubleshoot with someone else. Okay. I get phone calls all the time, that the emotion is attached to something that's not the barrier that that person wants to remove. Example, Lily, I think you might need to get me some help with divorce. Okay. Do you have any property? What are you thinking? You can do pro se in the state of Connecticut, which means you can represent yourself. Um, well, I haven't told you the best part yet is that because my ex partner is not paying child support, my husband is exhausted and doesn't want to continue this. Hmm. So is it about getting a divorce or maybe getting a little bit of help to understand how that process is? Or is it about modifying that order? What is it about? So my job, and I put myself in that place, is to figure out what the real barrier is. Sometimes people call me, they spend a consultation fee, and all they wanted to do was troubleshoot with me and say, can I call you back? So the reason I tell you all of this is because it's really important to have that compassion and that mercy with yourself. Also, to know that you might have to make 4 or 5 phone calls and to you yourself know exactly what's the barrier that you want to remove. What's your priority? So I've had people who have called me about a potential eviction, but they don't have food in their house. Which one should be the priority? Whatever the client decides. In my head, it's like, let's get you some food, let's get you some, staples for now. Okay. And then let's work on the other part if you still want to do that. Yeah. Yeah. Let's do that. Let's do that. Or no, I can get food somewhere else. My sister has me, my girlfriend has me. I have Hands on Hartford. I go to the food pantry. I'm all set with that. I really want to work on the divorce. And that's what you go and you work on. So we navigate the system. It is important also that you feel that you can take anybody you want to have that conversation, as long as they have your permission. So I want to talk to you a little bit about medical care. Many people have settled for this is just the way it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I would not be here if I had settled for that. I'd probably be in a psych unit, over medicated, unable to function totally. Inside of me, I always knew that there was something. I didn't know what, but that there was something different. Can I do what I used to do? No. Do I want to do what I used to do? To be honest with you, 11 years on the road? No, no, I don't. So it's very critical that you think about what do you really want when you pick up that phone. But it's okay to make calls to receive information, just to receive information and compare programs and compare people you want to work with, people you may, hola Mari, or people you may not want to work with. That is extremely important. So grab a notebook and say, el lunes llamé aquí, el martes llamé aquí. ¿Quién me contestó? Because the other thing is when you're making 100 phone calls, you may misplace people. Oh, no, wait. I talked to Jill and I actually talked to Sarah. But don't Jill and Sarah work at the same place? Oh, crap. Now I don't know. So that's why it's important for all of us de tomar notas. Tomen muchas notas, muchas notas. And it doesn't have to be 10 y 15 oraciones. It could just be time, name, agency. Time, name, agency. Time, name, agency. And I have templates for that. So you can purchase those templates if you wanted to, para que los ayude. It's in the best interest of the caller to always know why they're calling. Lily, I don't want to call that place because they're mean to me. Okay. Now I'm going to say algo que a las personas usualmente no le cae muy bien cuando yo lo digo. Are they mean to you? Tell me how. Well, they just mean. Okay. Tell me how. But if the person is not able to tell me how, I will give examples. Do they tell you that they don't want to talk to you? Do they just have like a snippy attitude? Have they denied you services? Do they not process your application? What is it? I just don't like the person who answers the phone. Do we have an option? ¿Hay otra persona con quien podamos hablar? Is there someone else that I can talk to? I've done that where I've said, I don't think you can hear me clearly. Do you have another colleague or a supervisor that I can talk to? Here's the sad thing. The sad thing is sometimes you do need, and it's sad and it upsets me all the time. You do need an entity, an agency, someone with a title of some kind to write that note or that letter or place that phone call. And all of a sudden, ¿qué pasó? Everything changed. Everything changed. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in. That is the world we live in. Okay. Now I'm going to enter into muddy waters for a lot of people. Okay? Muddy waters. When you are working with the community of faith, you have to understand a faith, what faith it is. Okay? First of all, what they believe in or not believe in. So I may handle a situation in a Catholic environment different than I handle it in an evangelist environment or a Baptist environment. Why? Because the involvement is different and the beliefs at times are different. Example, I just worked with a young lady who was told in her community of faith that if she didn't get pregnant, she could not seek any type of treatment because that would be against their religion. This young woman desperately wants to be a mom. So what did she do? She paid me so I would go and speak to her leader. It took us 3 hours before the leader was able to understand that she was ready, able, and capable of bringing a child into this world, but that her biological situation, documented by her doctor, was not allowing her to do that. All of a sudden, she got some special permission of whatever, and she was able to feel better and call her doctors and initiate a process for her to become pregnant, if she's blessed enough to become pregnant. So, todos estos detallitos son bien importantes cuando le estamos dando las herramientas a la gente. Escuchar, escuchar, escuchar. I always tell people, we must listen, we must listen, we must listen, and we must listen to the silence. To the silence. What's that person telling you with silence? Are they looking at you? Are they not looking at you? Are they playing with their fingers, their anxiety? Are they giving you half of the story and you already know that they're just giving you bits and pieces of the story? They don't trust you. They don't know you. You came highly recommended, but they don't know you. You don't look the way that they thought you would look. You don't sound the way that you thought. Your sound, your office doesn't look big enough, small enough, whatever the issue might be. And you also have to allow yourself time to decide if that's the person you want to work with. I have had many people who people have recommended highly. And then when I meet them, I go, oh, heck no. This is a bad match for me. This is a bad match for me. I can't do it. And that's not my person. So I keep looking for my person. So here's what I want for you to put together. Your emotions do not have to be removed from anywhere. They're your emotions, they're your feelings, that's how you feel. It's perfectly fine. I'm okay with them. It's fine. Um, keep everybody's business card. Now you can keep it digitally, but I'm old fashioned. This is only my media's cards of people that I know in the media. That's it. And then I have my social services. And then I have, believe it or not, aesthetics. And then I have people who work at corporations. And I separate all of them. So when I need someone or a resource, I can pull from that pile. I can pull from that pile. So es bien importante que puedan tener claro por qué están llamando a una agencia, qué es lo que esa agencia hace, por qué lo hace, si tienen fondos, si no tienen fondo, con quién habló a la hora que habló con ellos, quién es el nombre de la persona. Eso es sumamente importante, sumamente importante. Identifying your barrier. Identify your barrier. Is it that you are being evicted? Is it that you are going through a divorce? Is it that your child has special needs and the school is not listening to you? Or that they are listening to you, but you can't keep up with everything they're asking you to do? Is it that you have a loved one at home with special needs and it's very difficult for the people that provide the services to understand your relationship and that environment or why you have to be there? Um, some people get annoyed and you have to remind them that that's their job. Algo que de verdad les recalco a todo el mundo es que no le huyan a su proceso. No le huyan, por favor, a su proceso. No le huyan. It's okay not to know everything because somebody does know something. It's okay not to know everything, but somebody knows something. Se empiezan ahí poquitito, 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 poquitito. But if you have a resource and you just received it, share it. Share it because there's always someone else. So we have a few minutes. So here's how we're going to go. Number one, número uno, ¿cuál es la barrera? ¿Cuáles son las emociones? ¿Y cuál es la data cruda? So what are your emotions and what's hardcore data? What are your emotions and what's hardcore data? I feel, will that translate into action? Have you ever overworked yourself and then that meeting turned out to be awesome? Overly prepared yourself, had anxiety, couldn't sleep that night because you were going to have that meeting, because you had to go talk to your landlord, because you had to talk to that nurse, to that doctor. And then you find out that, why did I do all of that? But you were prepared. Okay. Documentation, documentation, documentation. Documentación, 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 document. I have colleagues that they always apologize. Oh, I'm sorry for this. I'm sorry for that. I always say, only if you're robbed from me, should you be apologizing or offend me or something like that. If I pick up the phone, I want to spend that time with you. And that's why I'm very particular in saying to people, let's talk tomorrow when I'm actually in the office and I can schedule a block of time and we can call and we can talk and we can make a plan and we can do all of that. So sometimes it's not in the best interest of the caller or that person who's going to deliver that information to them to do it like this. So if you have the opportunity to make an appointment, it's probably in your best interest. Trust your gut. Please, please trust your gut. It is extremely important to trust your gut. Okay, those feelings that you get have a purpose. Okay, trust your gut. Many, many, many times I've heard people say, man, if I just would have listened to what I was feeling, things would have been quite different. I think that's important also. So you're not going to like everybody that you have to work with or that you need to supply a service to or that you need services from. You don't have to become friends. You don't even have to like them. don't become your own barrier. Don't become your own barrier, or don't give them the satisfaction to just shoo you away. How many of you have been shooed away? I know I have. How many of you have been shooed away before? No, 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 eso no se puede, eso no la loquera, eso jamás va a suceder. Forget it, forget it, forget it. That's not going to happen. It will never happen. Um, and then you find out that someone else made it happen. So those are the folks in your community that you want to stick to. So if you're confronting a barrier right now, um, what is the barrier? Is it our mental health? Is it that every time we hear somebody, it's a trigger for us? Is it that we think we're not smart enough? Is it that we think we need to do the buddy system? I do the buddy system a lot when I go places with people, um, just because they need me there. I'm not the expert. I'm sitting in the office of the expert with them, and you have the right to do that. So, rule number one, you don't have to kill every emotion you feel. Las emociones son importantes, ¿verdad? Porque te mueven, porque te hacen sentir, ¿verdad? Y esas emociones a veces te elevan a llevar a cabo tu misión. Si yo no soy del pensar que tienes que eliminar todos los sentimientos que sientes. No, yo tengo que ser valiente, yo no puedo llorar, yo no puedo. Oh, that's the other one that drives me crazy. Peeps, I must tell you, I can't cry. I'll stop crying. Let me just tell you, if you don't have yourself a good cry, you're going to have lots of teeny, 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 teeny cries. And eventually it can become a big issue, a huge issue. So it's okay to cry. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be angry. Um, and the solution or the barrier may be removed in a way that you never thought you would even think about. And it may not look the best for you, but did you give it your all? And that's what I do. I try to give everybody that I work with my all. Now, I don't want to leave you without resources. And this is very important. Tenemos muchos servicios en el estado de Connecticut. No lo suficiente um, para darle el apoyo a todo el mundo. So I'm not going to say that we have everything we need, but we do have some services. But the best thing that we can do is unite forces. Lo que podemos hacer que sea lo más maravilloso del mundo es unir nuestras fuerzas. Unir nuestras fuerzas. There's space for everybody. Une tus fuerzas. Just unite. Unite and unite. But I have to tell you this. I have burned 4 bridges in my life. And I've been okay with that. Because those bridges would have killed me. Okay? So sometimes you got to be careful when you're going to burn a bridge, meaning you never want to walk through there again. And you have to be able to admit to yourself that you're not going to walk through there again and you don't need it again. I've done it 4 times and I'm 52 years old and I would not go there. And so I will find my way around. Los políticos no son artistas, ni los artistas son políticos. Y hasta los artistas tienen sentimientos y corazón y problemas y todo ese tipo de cosas. Not every problem goes away with money. And I've had to have this conversation with a lot of money. I mean, with a lot of people. I know a lot of people who are confronting severe health issues, and they do have the financial ability to take care of themselves with medical care, and they would give anything. They would give away their money if they could get their health back. The reason I say that is because we're always looking out. And Facebook makes us all look really good, right? So you can post the nicest pictures of you, and that's all great and wonderful. So I want to tell you this. I want to give you the opportunity to share with others the information, the how to. Number one, okay, is write down in a pad, why am I calling this place? My friend told me that I can get food there. My friend told me that I can get furniture there. My friend, there's an amazing group. It's called Ends to Meet, and they help people with furniture. Are they a nonprofit? Nope. You'd be shocked. They're amazing, amazing. Barbie, who runs the project, is amazing. She does it out of the kindness of her heart. We just did, went to her fundraiser. It was beautiful. And I used the word simple as classy, and it was amazing, amazing. And so you can start your own initiatives too. Documentation, 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 documentation. Clear, clear as much as you can. Expectations. That's really, really hard. Para todos nosotros entender literalmente cuáles son nuestras expectativas y si son realistas. Okay? Are they realistic expectations? Lily, I owe $10,000 and that agency only wants to give me $5,000. Well, will those $5,000 buy you some time? Is the landlord willing to negotiate with you? I didn't think of that. Well, let's think about that. Can we buy some time? Or do we want to use that money to find a new place? Or do we want to use X or YC resource to do something else? So it's really thinking about, maybe you're not getting the $10,000, but if you're getting the $5,000, what does that buy for you? Y eso es para todos nosotros. Es de verdad considerar lo que se nos ofrece al momento y cómo nos puede ofrecer eso mismo, una inyección a nosotros de fe, de oportunidad, de esperanza, y que nos gane algo de tiempo. So not all of the solutions or the opportunities are the ones that we wanted. This information, if you're interested in going through a whole workshop with me, we can break it down from A, B, C. I'll tell you where you're going. I'm telling you how we got off track. I can tell you where it went wrong. I can tell you exactly what entity might be able to help you. What politicians in my 32 years, I still continue to call new ones, and those who've had a long-standing career. Here's the other thing when it comes down to politicians. You don't have to always like them and agree with everything they stand for. Are they helpful to you in this particular action that you want? And you are going to have to, I promise you, work with people that you don't always enjoy their company, but they may be the person who's your resource. And if we could just eliminate the grandiose thing that we have, that we look at people like, no, they have it all together. Oh, no, I'm talking to this one. Oh, no, I'm talking to that. My grandmother always used to say, honey, not everything that shine is gold. And everybody has a life. Everybody has a reason, even if they don't know it. So you have a purpose. So what's your goal? What's your purpose? You have anxiety. Anxiety comes from a place. Depression comes from a place. All of those things come from. So you can do this. You can really do this. So I hope that you can share this information with other people. We are going to continue having these conversations. Next, coming up, I just want you to know that we are going to have a conversation and many conversations with a gentleman who's very savvy about what's happening in Cuba, why through the years we know so little or know so much, depending on what part of the equation you're in, and how can we help. And I'll tell you right now, you don't want to miss those interviews. We will soon have Kathleen Clarity from the Connecticut Legal Rights Project, and she does amazing work. And there were the winners. We had $300 to give out to nonprofits, and she was one of the chosen ones, meaning the Connecticut Legal Rights Project. So she'll be with us. Y para cerrar, and in my closing, I want to invite you to share, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That helps me a lot. The more we can get out there, the more we can share our information, our trainings, the guests that come up. the services that are available to you, the talent that's out there. There's a lot going on out there, a lot going on out there. Stay safe. When people used to say to me, take it one day at a time, I almost wanted to, sometimes you got to take it 15 minutes at a time, half an hour at a time, an hour at a time, whatever that may mean for you. And my belief, God bless you. And I hope to see you next Monday with a new guest. And type it if you want to be part of the workshops. They're closed workshops. Um, and we will be happy to provide you with that. See you next Monday. Ciao, mi gente.